Salatu wa salam Rasulullah, about the name of Allah and peace and blessings for Allah be upon his last and final messenger. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hatettes, welcome back to the Feachaz. We greet you all in peace and love and no hatred of my heart. Assalamu Alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here. So family, you know, this is Ramadan, and today I wanted to do something different. Actually, I saw this video from this brother. His name is whatchamacallit, Afro Think Tank, right? He's pretty big in the whatchamacallit, the Pan-African community, pretty big. He's a pretty intelligent guy. And he asked a question that most Black Muslims, they come across a question like this or similar to this, especially with the onset of a lot of immigrants in the immigrant community and whatnot ending up in the Black community. So they're asking this question. They're not like being facetious or anything like that. I watched a little bit. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a little bit of his talk here, right? And he was very respectful. He was very candid. He wasn't out here trying to diss anybody or anything like that, but he was essentially asking a real question. Now, this particular individual, he has moved to Africa. I believe he's in Ghana, right? I believe he became a chief or something like that in Ghana as an Black American citizen, because of his work that he does over there. With helping the people and whatnot, they made him like a chief and stuff like that, right? So he's like no joke. He's like a serious type person, right? And he's asking this question, and Black Muslims, we got to know how to answer these type of questions, especially when we're dealing with our people, because this question will come up. And a lot of people, they don't know or understand, much about Islam and its relationship with Black people, and how it's like Black people have a long history with Islam, and Islam actually improving the lives of literally millions. Okay. Right. And we're talking about before the times of white supremacy and racism and whatnot, and how this kind of crept into the Arab world and whatnot. But even afterwards, the scholarship that was coming out of Africa, and even so, you can even say to some extent, the Americas, right, with regards to Islam and how it improves the lives, like, of not just Black people, but anybody who enters it. Absolutely anybody who takes it seriously, who follows the Quran and Sunnah with an understanding of the pious predecessors. Anybody who takes this seriously will instantly notice the improvement in their lives and the way that they carry themselves, and things of this nature. But if you don't know, you just don't know. You're asking a question, which is what this particular person is doing. He's just asking a question, because what they see, what our people see from Christians and Muslims, is a whole bunch of colonialism and slavery. This is what they see, right? This is what they see, because this is what's being not only is it what's being pushed to them, but it's something that is actually happening. So let me just share the screen here, right? And we're gonna watch this together. So like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon, and let's get down to the nitty-gritty. 1 second, family. Let me just get this all queued up. All right. There we are. So let's get into it, family.
What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank, and it is Sunday. And because it's Sunday, most of our African Americans, our Black people in this country, are at church. They're at church, or they're at the mosque, or they're on the side of a corner calling white people devil, One of them, right? The Power Ranger suits.
I had to laugh at that part, man. I had to laugh one more again. I forgot he said that, man. He's talking about Hebrew Israelites. He's talking about Hebrew Israelites. They at the corner calling white people devils and stuff. Okay, let's keep going, y'all.
Right, and the question that comes to mind is an honest question. You know, I'm Pan-African. I believe in African-centered spiritual thought, right? And African-centered history and African-centered everything, right? And I just want to ask, what has Christianity and Islam done for Africans since we have adopted those two religions? I'd say we adopted Islam under the promise of not being attacked by a bunch of mixed-raced mulattoes who are pissed off at Africans for some reason, right? And white folk, right? Arabs, and a bunch of hybrid Neanderthal, Germanic, Francophone, Anglo-Saxon barbarians, right? Who gave us Christianity. And you can try to make the argument Christianity did not come from black people, right? Christianity in the Bible is not a black book. It's not.
This is partially true, but it's not fully true in terms of Christianity not coming from black people and Christianity coming from the Bible. This is partially true, right? What we know as a modern day Bible is truly a European concoction. It's not necessarily a like what the original Bible or what we know as the Bible. Okay, it's mostly a European concoction, especially Bibles in the English version, and more especially the King James version. Okay, Christianity, as it's practiced, is a purely European phenomenon. 100% purely European phenomenon. However, there's a segment of Christianity that comes directly from Africa, in Eastern Africa. We're talking about the Ethiopian Coptic Church, the Egyptian Coptic Church, right? These segments of Christianity are very, very old, okay? And they predate what we know as modern day Christianity in the West. And they have their own separate Bibles, which are not recognized by the modern day Catholic Church or the Protestant Church. Now, the Protestants, they have the King James Bible. That's what they use. That book has 66 books. The original King James Bible had 80 books. Anybody can look this up. It was translated in 1611. And there were so many errors and travesties in that particular Bible that it was nicknamed the Wicked Bible. It was eventually whittled down, I believe, in the 1800s to 66 books. And the St. Vincent de Paul version has 73 books. But the Ethiopian Bible there's some versions that have 80 and some versions have 100. But this is a phenomenon with the Bible, right? And it's written in a much older language. It's written, I believe it's in, somebody can correct me this, but I believe it's either Aramaic or I can't remember. I think it's Aramaic, right? But somebody can look that up for me, right? So it's not like these European languages, okay? So this is only partially true, right? The Ethiopian church is older. As far as I know, it's definitely older than the Protestant church. And as far as I know, I believe it's older than the Catholic Church. And even before that, there was a certain group of Christianity that were called the Ebionites. You can look this up. They were the Ebionites. These were the Christians that believed in Tawhid. And guess where they're from? They are from, yes, you guessed, they're from Africa. And a lot of the East African tribes practicing Christianity, they are Semitic tribes. You're talking about people from the the lineage of Shem and Canaan. They're like truly descendants of Abraham and whatnot, right? And they know their lineage very well, right? So that Christianity really has nothing to do with the brand of Christianity that is practiced here in the West. There's like night and nothing at all, right? And if you look at how you can look up the videos. The Ethiopian Christians, they pray almost like very similar to the Muslims. Very, very similar. They have ruku, sujood, everything. You get it? So yes, I get where he's coming from, but that truly is something that is a phenomenon with the descendants of slaves, where we got this brand of Christianity that is truly meant to weaponize against Black people. And that is the sole purpose of this brand of Christianity that we've been fed. So let's keep going, y'all.
Not an African book. It's not, it's a 100% European book. 100% written and directed by white people, all right? Even though the stories itself were inspired by older stories written by people that look like us, right? So what has religion truly given to Africans and to Black people in general, right? Let's look at like Islam, right? In West Africa, right? A lot of people would try to say, well, Islam is the reason why West Africans organized and made all this great stuff, right? But the thing is, we made all that great stuff before Islam. Islam just came in during the time we made all that great stuff.
No, that's not true. And it's not even provable. This is a mistake. He would have to actually provide proof for this, right? If you look at all of the great African empires, they're directly because of the effect of Islam on the society. All of them, without exception. Okay. If you look for example, the most popular, right, would be Mansa Musa. Okay. He is not the first. Mind you, he's from a line of emperors, Mansa Musa. Right. And on top of that, the same what was the empire? I can't remember. It's called the Mali Empire. I think it's called the Mali Empire. This empire existed for a long time. Islam spread, throughout the world very, very, very quickly, right? Very quickly. And when these West Africans accepted Islam, that's when the sciences started becoming prevalent within African tradition. Because Africans in general, they don't have a written tradition. But Islam, basically, spread the importance of writing. You get it? They spread the importance of writing. So now, Mansa Musa comes along, and mind you, this empire already existed for hundreds of years. He's just like the beneficiary of this empire. And he says, you know what? I'm going to build the greatest center of learning that this world has ever seen. And then this is about the 13, I can't remember, man. It's like 13 something. Somebody can get it for me, man. But he goes and he makes this pilgrimage to Hajj. But how did he make this pilgrimage to Hajj? He had a huge caravan. And with this caravan were camels that were carrying sacks of gold dust, like the when you mine gold, just sacks. His trip caused, because he was just giving away gold, it actually caused a economic collapse in Egypt, okay? Because everybody was getting gold. You can look this up. You get me? There is no equivalent whatsoever of what he is mentioning about African spirituality as this. As a matter of fact, what people and African spirituality is more of a Western phenomenon on the thought process of what they think Africa is. You get me? Because what these spiritual religions were never considered African spiritual religions at all. Never, ever, ever. Right? These segments of religions here and then all over, spread all over Africa, they're tribal practices. So this tribe is practicing this tribe is practicing that, and whatnot. These folks didn't know that they were African, okay? Somebody had to come into Africa and tell them that they were African. You get me? Africa, like any other place, were largely tribal people. You get me? So it was Islam that brought the tradition of writing, the tradition of having like a high state of manners for diplomatic purposes and dealing with people and whatnot. Islam is a thing that brought that to Africa. You get me? There are no written traditions from alleged African spirituality. You have a lot of modern day folk, mostly Westerners, mostly descendants of slaves, that say they practice African spirituality, but even Africans don't practice African spirituality. You get it? Not even they do that. You know, you don't find Africans running around the place talking about, I practice some African spirituality. They don't do that. It's something that we do, okay? But I digress, okay? We can go on and on and on about just Mansa Musa alone, right? Mansa Musa, his investment in scholarship and education was second to none. He built the world's most, elite university at that time. The elite university. Now, did he do that because of African spirituality? Or did he do that because his duty as a Muslim commands him to do that? That money that he was giving away through his trip to Hajj, he was recruiting the scholars of every single nation at that time, right? Wherever he's going, he was recruiting scholars to bring them back to the Mali Empire. You get me? His university in Timbuktu, they had the most elite scholars from all over the Muslim world. From Algeria, from Egypt, from Turkey, from Saudi Arabia, whatever. Like the elite scholarship, he was bringing them back. You get me? The best of the best, he was bringing them back to Mali. And they were no joke. They were teaching everything, right? It's not just fiqh and hadith and sirah and it wasn't just that. They were translating the ancient Greek books. They were teaching sciences. They were teaching ocular sciences. They're teaching all kinds of crazy stuff, astronomy, you name it. It was a legit powerhouse of knowledge. A legit powerhouse of knowledge. The Europeans came and found this legit powerhouse of knowledge. And what do you think they did with the books? What do you think they did? You get me? But I digress. Let's keep watching. Because we could go on, just on Mansa Musa alone, we can go on about that. Let's keep watching, yo.
And it wasn't Arabs, it was African people who were Muslim, right? But adopting the Arab language, as that was the business language of the practicing Muslims, which most of them were nomadics, people who traveled and were exposed to those people, right? Other than Arabic and the Quran and reading and praying 5 times a day, what did it actually give, the Africans? They didn't give nothing. They didn't give you architecture.
Yes, they did. Yes, they sure did. They sure did give you architecture. They 100% gave you architecture. Right? This is a big mistake. And furthermore, he's speaking like Arabic is a language that is exclusive from Black folk, when who were the original Arabs, family? Who were the original Arabs? Even from the Lisan al-Arab. For the book, the Lisan al-Arab, they will tell you that the original Arabs, they were Black. They know who the original Arabs were. They will tell you that the Arabs come in different types. There's Arabs, people from tribe, like their lineage is Arab, and there's Arab from people who speak the language. Those people are also Arab. And the original Arabs are Black people. Like, how do you, if you think of even the lineage of Arabs, the lineage Arabs comes from Abraham, Then he had two sons, Ishaq and Ismail. Okay? Ishaq is the lineage of the Jews, and Ismail is a lineage of the Arabs, right? Ismail himself, he's somebody who learned Arabic from original Arabs. And the region of the world where they were in, where were they? Between Yemen and Saudi, right? Who were the people in that time? But because we think in terms of race, we have to educate folks like this, right? They're not thinking in terms of race. They're just talking, they live in their life. They just live in their life. They're not thinking about black people, white people, or anything like that. They're not thinking anything like that. They are out there surviving in the desert. You get me? There's a channel on YouTube. Let me try to find it for y'all. It breaks this down beautifully. This is probably one of the most underrated channels on YouTube. Okay? It's called the Tariq Berry channel. Let me get it for y'all. 1 second. If anybody wants more information about this stuff, go visit this channel, Tariq Berry. Well, let me pull it up, y'all. So I'll share it with y'all. There it is. Absolutely underrated. If you subscribe to his channel and tell him that Bilal sent you, or not Bilal, the Feachaz. Tell him that the Feachaz sent you. Absolutely underrated. Let me share it with y'all. 1 second, family. I'll share it with y'all. Watch this. I'm gonna get one of his videos. So this is the Tariq Berry channel, right? It's called the Tariq Berry channel. Go subscribe to his channel. Okay? He's breaking it down all in Arabic. He's going into Arabic, lisan Arab, everything. He's telling you about the color of original Arabs, you name it. Everything. With dalil. Okay? With dalil. And in Islam in general, it's not supposed to make a difference in Islam, but it makes a difference, don't it? Because we got a hella racist people up in here. You get me? We got a hell of racist people up in here. Look at this. This is Tariq Berry.
قال محمد بن أحمد الأزهري صاحب التهذيب الغالب على ألوان العرب الأدمة والأدمة.
Okay, so I'm just going to read it for you. Muhammad bin Ahmed al-Azhari said the al-Udma is the predominant complexion of the Arabs. We talked about this before, right?
صاحب التهذيب الغالب على ألوان العرب الأدمة والأدمة في الناس.
Al-Udma in humans means very asmar. Very asmar, meaning black, meaning dark black. And asmar itself means dark skin. Udma means jet black, okay? That's what it means.
هي السمرة الشديدة. وقال ابن منظور صاحب لسان العرب.
The color Arabs is asmar, al-sumra, and Adam, al-Udma, except for a minority who aren't. That was the original Arabs. What you want me to say? What y'all want me to say, family? Do you get me? Now, were the Arabs at this time, were they thinking about race or anything like that? They wasn't thinking about anything like that. They're just recording their history. That's it. Right? They're just recording who they were. That's it. Just like regular people. It now becomes an issue because of the mass racism of the modern day Arab, just like the mass racism of the modern day Ashkenazi. Ashkenazis ain't original Jews. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Who's out here thinking that Ashkenazi, some Ashkenazi somewhere, some European Polish somewhere, these are the people that walked through Moses through the Red Sea? You believe that?
That's stupid.
Ain't nobody believe that. They can't even take no DNA test in Israel. They can't do it. They know that they're not They know that they're not the original Jews of the Bible. They know that. They understand that. But they want the appearance that they are the original ones. So just because these black folks, they don't know that the original Arabs were, black. That's why they're talking like Arabs are separate from black people. You get it? But I digress. Let's keep watching, y'all.
Right? All the African architecture is African architecture. What is Arab architecture? Because I ain't never really seen it. Right? There's no such thing as like Arab architecture.
There is. He just don't know. He just don't know. Right? And it's very easy to find out anyways. Let's keep watching, y'all.
It's just African architecture. That's it. All that stuff that you see in the Middle East, which is very small. I wish we had true maps so you can see how absolutely small the Middle East is. The Middle East is smaller than most African countries, right? The place we call the Middle East, where all the attention is given. All these Arabs, it's not even that many of them, right? It's not even that many Arabs, right? But they're made to look like a bigger group than they are, but they're really small, right? And Europeans also are very small, and they made it look like they're big too, right? But they're bigger than the Arabs, right? But what did Islam give us, other than the hard time? What elements of Middle Eastern Arab society that was given to Africans that benefited us? Or is it that we benefited them when they mixed with us? Because the most peaceful type of Muslims are the African ones. The most peaceful practitioners of Islam are African. You don't see the Arabs really truly practicing Islam as a peaceful religion. They say it. They go like this. They're like, we're a peaceful religion.
Right. So this is again, it's perception, right? Because this is a perception from our people. This is the perception that our people get about Islam, and they truly believe that it's like an Arab religion. And on top of that, they divorce Arab from Africa because of perception. And Arab and Africa cannot ever be divorced. Okay, it's not a thing. That's just not a thing. But his perception in his head are like the Middle Eastern style type of Arabs and their oppression against black Africans. And that's why he has that perception. You get me? Which we call out on this channel all the time. That had nothing to do with Islam. Not a single one of those Arabs ever said that they doing what they doing in the name of Allah or in the name of or because the Quran tells them to do such things. Not one. As evil and as wicked as they are, they will not go that low to say that Allah tells me to oppress these black people, like what they're doing in Libya right now. You get me? They won't say it because they know what they're doing is not only is it haram, but it's outrageously haram. It's criminal. They know that they're criminals. Most criminals know that they're criminals. The difference between a Muslim criminal and your regular run-of-the-mill criminal is that the Muslim criminal, when he's doing his criminalizing, he's generally not gonna say, Allah is forcing me to enslave these people. You get it? So now he has this perception. Is it his fault that he has this perception? Absolutely not. It's not his fault. It is our fault for not educating him, which is what we're doing right now. Ain't nowhere Islam spread except that it improved and made the people better. And there is so much actionable proof of this specifically for black people. When Columbus came to South America, when he arrived in Trinidad and South America, these type of places, he already saw Muslims there. He saw Muslims already there and mosque already there in the places that he allegedly discovered. When these alleged colonizers were arriving in places like Haiti and things like that, they were meeting Muslims there. Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, who's not a Muslim, by the way, he's not a Muslim, by the way, he writes extensively about the African involvement in South America and the natives here that they were here hundreds of years. And he says even he says, I think it's a little bit embellishment, but he says even thousands of years before Europeans arrived. I think that part's embellishment. Dr. Abdul Hakim Quick, he has a book called Deeper Roots, where he even goes that they even found currency from the Mali dynasty in South America, and the mosque being built there and all kind of stuff. Do you have a currency in your African spirituality? where were these places that the African spiritualists were discovering and sailing to? And like, come on, man. But they don't know. They're asking sincere questions, because what they see is, for example, Muslims for Trump and stuff. Okay, this is what they see. So they're like, well, how can y'all even follow this stuff? Because they think it's the religion. It's not the religion. It's them, folks. It's them, folks. Them, folks, is about Muslims from Trump and stuff. They have to answer to Allah for that. You get it? We talked about the Mali dynasty. What about the huge scholarship that was produced as a result of the efforts of hundreds of years before in Mali? Like, for example, Shehu Uthman Dan Fodio. Go look up Shehu Uthman Dan. Shehu is how they say sheikh in West Africa, right? Uthman Dan Fodio, an prominent scholar and reformer and founder of the Sokoto Caliphate in present-day Nigeria. Go look him up. Go look him up and tell me that Islam didn't have any impact on that. Of course it was Islam. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? Of course it was. Of course Islam did so much. As a matter of fact, every slave rebellion, the early slave rebellion in the West that ever happened in the West, it happened because of Muslims. This is why they tried to force Africans into Christian. This is one of the reasons. Remember, they didn't want Africans to become Christians in the beginning because there was there would be a spiritual conflict. Like, how can you enslave your own brother Christians? You get me? But look at the early slave rebellions. Look at, for example, the rebellion in Brazil. It's called the Mali Revolt. Mali Revolt. 1835. Look that up. And even the largest slave revolt in history, human history, with the Zendra rebellion. We'll talk about this. Muslim rebellion. Muslims are doing this. Where are these Christian revolts? Where are these Christian? You don't have them. You get it? Anyways, let's keep watching, y'all. We can go on and on and on. And with this, we're only 4 minutes in, right? But he just plain and simply, he does not know, right? So let's keep watching, y'all.
And then they go off with their non-peaceful, violent rhetoric and tactics. It's what they do under the guise of peace. They always like to throw out peace, right? But they don't know how to practice peace. And the whole doctrine is not.
Actually, this is not the appeal for Black people. This non-violence is not the appeal to Islam for Black people in general. In general, right? And as a matter of fact, we only really find immigrants talking about this peace stuff, right? Islam is a religion because they out here, they're not trying to get in trouble. But the militant propensities of Islam is a selling point of Islam to Black people. is a selling point. Right? Thus, you have your Malcolm X's of the world. Thus, you have your Imam Jamil Alameen's of the world. Thus, you have the Mali Rebellion. Thus, you have the Gullas in Florida. There are, in my opinion, there are two Christian standouts in Western history. Two. One of them, we all know, Dr. Martin Luther King, but he was not about nonviolence. He was not about violence. It was about nonviolence. About nonviolence. Okay? And then you have Nat Turner. Nat Turner is my hero, okay? Nat Turner is my hero. Nat Turner, he read the Bible, but he didn't just read the New Testament, he read the Old Testament. And he liked that Old Testament God. He liked that old time religion, which is more part and parcel with Islam itself. Because in Islam, we believe death is preferable to oppression. That's what we believe. Allah says in the Quran. Okay? Death is preferable to oppression. So it was Islam that instilled the rebellious nature in the slaves against the oppressor. It was Islam that instilled that, because we know, we understand, even if you quell this rebellion, even if you wipe out all of us, we can't lose, because we are going to Jannah. We're going to paradise for fighting against you. We cannot lose. Whereas Christianity teaches the slave, love your neighbor, turn the other cheek. Oh, slaves, love your master as if you love your Lord yourself. That kind of stuff. So we ain't speaking the same language. How many ayat in the Quran? Allah hates Allah hates oppression. Allah hates oppression. How many ayat in the Quran like this? Too many to count. Allah says in the Quran, it might be that you hate something that is good for you and love something that is bad for you. Talking about, fighting for the sake of Allah. So he doesn't know, right? I think he sincerely does, because he's not being facetious or anything like that. He's being sincere. But he sincerely does not know. Islam is a religion of peace, is not a selling point for us. Because when you speak to us like that, we just hear the church, okay? That's what we hear. Turn the other cheek. Trying to keep us underneath the thumb of Zaddy for another 500 years. But when we hear, like, for example, the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, when he says, there's no barrier between Allah and there's no barrier of the dua of the oppressed. When the oppressed makes dua, there's no barrier between him and his Lord. When we hear hadith like that, that resonates with us. That's the stuff that resonates with us. I ain't never heard the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu talk about Islam as a religion of peace. I personally haven't heard it. If y'all got something like Islam is a religion of peace, either an ayah or hadith or something like, bring it, right? But we are peaceful when it's time to be peaceful, and we are not peaceful when it's time not to be peaceful. And Islam teaches us that death is preferable to oppression. But I digress. Let's keep watching, y'all.
Not to have peace. It's peace as long as you do what I say, when I say, how I say it, because I'm in charge, not rule over you. That's pretty much the MO there. And more Muslims kill more Muslims than anybody, right? Under the guise of Islam, because you're not practicing it the way I practice, right? So what has Islam, okay, so Islam helped, in America, Islam helped black people organize in jail to fight against white supremacy and Latinos. Islam is a jail organizing religion because it gave you something to do in jail. Because Christianity wasn't hard enough when you went to jail. Christianity, the racist people was using Christianity, so you couldn't use Christianity. So in the confines of jail, when the white Christian KKK white folk was using Christianity as their justification for their evilness, you figured, okay, well, I can't use Christianity because they're using Christianity. We in jail. I'm gonna use Islam because Islam is combative to Christianity. So to be defined against Christianity.
This is not the case either. Actually, I think this is more what's the word? It's more innuendo than anything else, like guesswork, right? This is not the case either. The reason why people accept Islam, especially black folk in jail and prison system, is not because of what he said. It's because Islam is truly reformative. Truly reformative. If you look at Malcolm X, rahimahullah, he accepted Islam in jail. What was he before? He was a drug dealer. He was a weed smoker. He was a pimp. He's like his all-around criminal. Right? He became Muslim and he turned his entire life around, reformed his life around. And he didn't even get the correct version of Islam. He didn't even get the correct version of Islam. The Islam that he was getting, though, was reformative. He eventually accepted the correct version of Islam. Now, imagine if he was alive with the correct, if they didn't assassinate him with that correct version of Islam. Look at Warith Muhammad. Warith Muhammad, the largest mass conversion in recorded history. The largest. Nobody forced these folks to convert to Islam. The son of Elijah Muhammad, mass converted hundreds of thousands of black folk to Orthodox Islam. Was it because something to do with it had nothing to do with Christianity? That's a fact. It really had nothing to do with Christianity. People just don't change, don't become Muslim because they don't like Christian. That's not how it works. Okay. People become Muslim because Islam is the truth. Islam is telling you about the purpose of life. Okay. That Allah, He hasn't created the human beings and the spirits except that they worship Him alone. This is the reform that happens within the person. So they naturally want to reform their lives. And nobody, even if you start practicing Islam a little bit because you are so, downtrodden, the nature of Islam is something, because the book, the Quran, comes from Allah directly. You will have no choice but to you will be improved just by that. You will be improved. You will improve your life somehow, some way, somewhere. You will become a better person. Christianity, on the other hand, was never, ever, ever, ever presented to black folk in that way. Christianity has always been a mind control tool against black folk. So you cannot superimpose the history that we have with Christianity and copy paste that and say Islam does the same thing. No, it does not do the same thing, brother. It does not do the same thing. Actionably and whatchamacallit, in reality, it does not do the same thing. Period. You have folks that became Muslim in jail. They became Muslim in jail. Then they become business owners. They become, educated. They become tradesmen. They changed their lives. Totally changed their lives. Whereas, if you go to any black church today in 2025, just pick one, you will see a whole lot of women in there. Very few men, lots of single moms and grandmas, and it looked like you just walked into the club. Like legit, they're doing this crazy jig, this dance that they do or whatnot. Right? Like, so this is not appealing. This is not appealing. Old Christianity, the old time Christianity, right? When the black church was first, really the black church was founded by white folks as a tool and a means to pacify the slaves, especially after the time of Nat Turner, especially after that. They really stepped it up. They produced something which is called the Slave Bible. You can look it up, where the Slave Bible basically was to remove all the Old Testament. Okay? Because they didn't want no more slave rebellions like Matt Turner and stuff like that. Matt Turner is my hero. Matt Turner is my hero. Okay? But I digress. Okay, the whole point is that the church was a means of refuge and solace for black people for a better part of a century and a half. The black church. It became a means of refuge and solace for black people. Okay? We're robbed of our names, robbed of our language, robbed of our religion, which was Islam, robbed of our roots, our culture, our God, who was Allah. Okay? Robbed of everything, forced into the black church. But at the same time, that black church really helped us along. It really did. Because we were in hell on earth out here in the West. It continued a large part be in hell on earth. But nothing like the past, right? Nothing like the past. Let me ask you something. How many Muslims or Arabs, as you put it, do you know running around burning down the Black Mosque? Have you ever seen it? Have you ever heard of it? Have you ever witnessed it? Has it come on the news? Have you ever seen, today, some man somewhere goes into the Black Mosque and shoots up the practitioners there. Firebomb Black Mosque. Have you ever witnessed this? And even if that happened, would you suspect a Muslim of doing it? No, the first thing you're going to think is some cracker somewhere got his hands on some Molotov cocktail and burned down the Black Mosque and shot it up. And that happens. Some cracker always somewhere is shooting down somebody in the mosque somewhere. Okay? All right? That's what it is. Now let me ask you, how many black churches have been burnt down? How many black churches you seen burnt down? Was it the Muslims doing that? Let me ask y'all something. Was it the Muslims burning down the black church? That's the question. Those very same white Christians that brought you baby white Jesus and told you that all the angels and all the saints and all the disciples are lily white. And they gave you the black church because they didn't want to be with you. Okay, that's why you got the black church to begin with. They didn't want to worship Jesus with you. They still burning down your churches. They still doing it. You cannot compare us to them. as racist as Muslims are, some Muslims are, they're racist because they are racist. They're not racist because Islam. They are racist because they are Arab. They are racist because they're Pakistani. They are racist because they are Indian, whatever it is. They are racist because they're Egyptian or Iraqi, or that's why they're racist. They're racist because they're Lebanese. They're not racist because they're Muslim. White folks are racist because they are Christian. That's why they're racist. That's why they hate you. You get it? Night and day. Let's keep watching, y'all.
That beat me, that did this to my ancestors. I'm gonna move over to Islam because Islam historically has fought against and has been the mortal enemy of Christianity. So let me move over there and be a militant Muslim, right? So what has Islam in America done for black people other than organize a few groups? Dr. Martin Luther King, when he was a Muslim, right? But then when he went to Africa and saw, right before he died, he went to Mecca, he did his thing, and he realized that Islam was not a race of people. It was anybody can be Islamic, just like anybody can be Jewish, anybody can be Christian, right? He changed his mind a little bit. But then he went to Africa and saw a different version of Islam that didn't line up with what he saw in the Middle East or anywhere else. And he changed his name from Malcolm X to something else. He had an African name before he got killed. So these are things in history that you don't want to, that people don't want to talk about.
Malcolm X is not an African name. Okay. Malcolm X is not an African name. Let's keep it a buck. Okay. Okay. But his name, they changed it, Al-Hajj Al-Malik Al-Shabazz. That is an African name, family. That's an African name. That's a pure Arabic name. What you talking about? You can't not divorce Arabic from Africa. It's impossible. It's impossible. Okay. But he doesn't know. He doesn't know. So we're giving him, some leeway because he's being sincere, and we come across these type of questions all the time. Let's keep watching, y'all.
Even Dr. Martin Luther King didn't get killed because I had a dream speech. Dr. Martin Luther King got killed because he started to realize that segregation, like he said, he was leading his people into a fire. He was walking his people into a fire, and he was changing his rhetoric. Dr. Martin Luther King had another speech that got him killed, and he was sounding more like Malcolm X, right? There was a Malcolm King that was about to.
Yes, this is a fact. He started sounding more like Malcolm X. He started speaking about economics. So when you were asking about what Islam has done, you are actually mentioning the things that Islam has done, right? Even Martin Luther King, he had to concede to the economic struggle of black people. Who brought it on the forefront? Who was the ones bringing it on the forefront? It was the Muslims. The Muslims were bringing it on the forefront. We have 5 pillars in Islam, family. Ashahadatain. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Rasulullah. To bear witness that there's nothing worthy of worship except for Allah, and that Muhammad, peace upon him, is his last slave and is his slave and last messenger. Okay, last prophet. Okay. Iqama salat, to stand for the prayer. Ita'i zakat, to pay the zakat. Pay the zakat. Now, zakat in English, you find it translated as charity. It's not charity. In my opinion, it's not charity. It's not have nothing to do with charity. Zakat is not charity, nor does it have anything to do with charity. Right? Charity is sadaqah. That is charity. Okay? Zakat is more like a group economic system. It is a method in which the society as a whole every year pulls 2.5% of their resources, their wealth, together in a pool. And then those who are struggling or whatever in the bottom of that pool, now they get access to this wealth. if you get access to zakat money, you know that can pull you out of poverty. Do you know that? Why do you think that everywhere Islam went, everywhere that Islam spread, poor nations became wealthy nations. People were becoming Muslim because they saw the Muslims are wealthy. You know why? Because of no interest banks, and zakat. That's why. That's why they were getting wealthy. Zakat is group economics, okay? I'm just saying, if you look at how zakat works, it does not work like charity. It works like a group economic system. And in my humble opinion, more imams, especially black imams, need to talk about finance way more. Way more. And especially zakat. They need to get on that, especially if you're in a black community. Because the zakat system, if we started practicing the zakat system, especially in the black community, do you know how many people we can pull out of poverty with just zakat only? With just zakat only. Do you know how many people we could pull out of poverty if we had our own non-interest banking system? And we have people in the community that can help us, like Dr. Umar Suleiman, who just happens to have a master's in Islamic finance. The resources are there. The education is there. The people are there. But I digress, family. Just keep watching, y'all. Wait a second, family. And don't forget to support the channel, family. You can support the channel, super chats. You can support the channel on PayPal. You can support the channel on Patreon. You can support the channel, buy me a coffee. Okay, let's keep watching, y'all.
It happened, and they had to take care of that because the last thing they needed was a charismatic leader who had the ear of millions of African Americans to get militant. Because as long as they had Dr. King and they had Malcolm X, they had two polarizing figures that, because they were publicly defiant against each other's strategies, they balanced each other out, right? But when they both started to align in their ways of thinking, that'd have been way too much. You would have united the Muslim blacks and the Christian blacks, which would have been an absolutely massive organized organization, and that would have changed a lot of things. Organized and financed and connected organizations together. Outside of the organization structure of these religions, what have the religion actually done for us? Is it really the religion or is it us?
That's too much now. That's a bit too much, right? Because he just basically gave a big tazkiyah for, or like a recommendation for both the like a Christian Muslim alliance with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and then he turns around and says, "Well, what have you done for us?" Come on, man. Come on. Now he's kind of reaching a little bit. That one is a little bit reachy. Okay. What is the Pan-African community done for us, family? You know what I mean? Islam has done a hell of a lot for black folk. A hell of a lot. Actionably, researchably. Like, you can look it up. Anybody can look it up. Okay. Look up Mansa Musa. Look up Usman Dan Fodia. Look up the Zenja Rebellion. Look up the Mali Rebellion. Look up all this stuff. Look up the huge amount of scholarship that became up the Islamic world, the Black Islamic world. Just look it up. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, for me, there are two Christian standouts. Martin Luther King, one of them, right? And Nat Turner, one of them, right? These are two Christian standouts. Okay. What do you think of the Muslim standards? It's like night and day. It's uncomparable. Muslims are already here in in the Americas long before Columbus, trading already, building mosque already, trading currency already. Look, where are these black Christians trading currency? You know what I'm saying? Like, anyways, let's keep watching, yo.
Look at our Christianity in our schools, how we practice it. Are we really practicing Christianity, or are we practicing continuous African spiritual tradition, and we continue to keep calling it Christianity? Because our Christianity don't look like white people Christianity. Because if you telling
So the brother Black Anarchic Riaz said Garvey was a Christian. He was taught by Yusuf Muhammad Ali, a black Muslim from Egypt. And on top of that, a lot of people don't know that Marcus Garvey rated Muslims. He rated them. He loved them. And he always complimented Muslims. Right? But when I say Christian, I mean like practicing Christian, not like culturally Christian. Like Marcus Garvey is more of a culturally Christian person. He's Christian, yeah, but he's culturally Christian. Martin Luther King, he's like Reverend Martin Luther King. Like he's a practice like Reverend, okay? Whatchamacallit? Nat Turner, he's like Reverend. You know what I mean? He's Reverend Nat Turner. You get me? That's what I mean. Just keep watching, y'all.
me that when you go into a black church and we're dancing and hopping and singing for 4 hours straight, right? Pulling spirits and going into trances like an African would, like a traditional African spiritual ceremony, while we continuously hop up and down calling our African spiritual connection with the divine Christianity, while we continue to utilize Jesus Christ as the deity that we worship, right? As the deity that we use for our spiritual connection, as the avatar, because that's clearly what we're doing. If we worship our Jesus, right, our deity, because African people, we ain't got no problem picking up a deity, because a deity is just an aspect of nature, an aspect of a portion of life that we're trying to figure out, right, or discover. So I see why Africans picked up Christianity, because it just made sense. He was just another figure within many figures that
Africans never picked up Christianity. There is only, okay, let me just like bring some nuance to that. There is only one set of Africans that picked up Christianity through osmosis, as I mentioned before. Right, you have your Ethiopian church and your Egyptian Coptic church. That's it. These are in the eastern part of Africa, far east, right? The Ethiopians, they are Semitic people. The Egyptian Coptics are not Semitic, but they became Christian like over 1,000 years ago. Before Islam, they were Christian. Okay, and this is something that is mentioned even in Islam. We all know about Najashi. Okay, Najashi was from that church. He's from that same thing I was talking about. That is the only. These are the only black people in history that developed Christianity through osmosis without the interference of the Catholic Church or colonizers. And their Christianity is not like the Christianity that we get. Any other African that is not from these two, right, got Christianity from colonization. All of them, without exception. It doesn't make a difference if it's West African, Central African, South African. It doesn't make a difference. White people brought Christianity to those people through missions and through what else? When they were going to the Muslim countries, they're doing these Christian missions, and they would intentionally pit the local black populations against the Muslim population, and they are the ones who classified the black Muslims as Arab. They're the ones who were doing it. I mean, the black Muslims, they knew they're Arab and everything like that, but there was no hostilities ever recorded between Muslims and the local populations until white folks came, until colonizers came. You understand? And up until this day, we suffer from the ideas that Orientalist and nation, which were kingmakers, Western kingmakers have done, pitting Muslims against Christians all over Africa. Boko Haram, American project. Okay? It has nothing to do with the local African population at all. They are a American project. Israel Young Lion.
Yeah. Salaam Alaikum. Could I be heard?
Yes. Walaikum salam. What you got for us, bro?
Nothing much. I'm just here to give salute and basically give this show a shout out because you're definitely cooking. And I also want to share my own experiences as well. You know, if that's if the time allows.
Go ahead. The floor is yours. We got time, brother. We got time.
Yeah, man. So a little background about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a recent revert to Islam.
MashaAllah. Mabruk. Congratulations. Allah reward you and bless you and give you Jannatul Firdaus. I mean, and keep you firm and strong on the path. We're living in times of big fitna, right? So Iman, faith, is the best currency. It is better than money, gold, silver, you name it, right? So if you can hold on to your religion until you die with firmness, it will not go unpaid by Allah. Absolutely not. All right. And speaking up for the truth is big jihad in our times. Big jihad. You know what I mean? Like what we're doing here, right? You know how many people hate us? You know, anyways, you've been watching for a while. People hate us, bro, but they can't refute anything that we're saying. And they can't do it because it's all true.
They can't because from what I've seen, I'm not saying that I'm the most perfect Muslim. I'm still learning the faith. I'm still trying to do things, the correct way. But from what I've seen coming from the haters, I see a lot of racism. Yeah. I see a lot of racism based off the fact that it's not Islamic. Like they're getting this stuff from somewhere. So like a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, they're gonna say, oh, none of this stuff is verified, and there's nothing that's true that the typical white supremacist talk that these other groups have, and then you have with our own people, like this brother on the screen. Not to put the brother down or anything like that, but this coming from a place of like ignorance. Because
I think he if he heard you say he would understand as well. Like you're not saying that he's an ignorant person, but he's just sincere. He's sincere about the question because he doesn't know. So he's asking because he really doesn't know, and he has his own preconceived thoughts, like many of our people do, right? Because of what they see on social media and the perception that is being portrayed to them. And these are very old taxes. This really started in the 1800s in Sudan when Orientalists went into the Sudan and started pitting intentionally the native population against the Muslim population and started spreading all kind of crazy lies that that these Muslims are enslaving, and they were lying, right? But there's no internet back then. There's no social media back then, so they just believe these white Christians wholesale because they're giving them food, they're giving them all kind of stuff, right? And that's how they essentially came to destabilize people. They come like that. They come with their lies. You get me? There's not a single place that a white Christian colonizer went except that the local population has suffered. Name one place where a white Christian colonizer went and the people have flourished. Name one.
I can't think of any.
Exactly. That's what they do.
It's impossible because I'm not saying that I've seen all the world, but Uncle Black, shout out to Black Mind.
Black Minds.
I talked to him behind the scenes. I used to be with those I used to be with the Hebrew Israelite brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not to say that everything that they're saying is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but I used to basically come from that the teachings of like like a lot of the people of the scripture, a lot of the people of the book were colored people that they looked like
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And like I would deal with brothers like on the screen, a Pan-Africanist who would try to make the argument about this is a white man's book and some Arabs wrote it or something like that. They try to like divert from the argument, and then you're bringing out the proof. You're going into the language. Like I could read Hebrew. You go into the language, and even with you, Bilal, going to the Arabic, you're showing them and you're proving to them that these are not just colonizers that wrote this thing and pushed it on our people, because they have this preconceived notion of just Arabs going into Africa and taking over
Yeah.
the western part and all this stuff. Even in my own family, like when I told my mother that I'm Muslim, she was like, "What are you? Why are you following that stuff? Because didn't you know that the Arabs enslaved us?" I was like, "That's not entirely true." Because my parents, they're from Haiti. They were born and raised from Haiti.
Oh, mashallah, mashallah.
And they came, like my mother, she came to America when she was young. My dad more so around his 20s. And I was saying, like, I was like, no, that's not true. Arabs did not enslave us, because first of all, like what proof do you have for that? This is just conjecture that's coming from Pan-Africanists. That Arabs just went over there in West Africa or Central Africa, and then they was beating us over the heads with their Qurans, and that's the narrative that they push. But that's, from what I'm studying, that's not entirely true. The Arabs, they came in peaceably into West Africa, they traded, and then of course, when you're dealing with other people groups, when two people groups are dealing with each other, of course there's intermarriage, and of course there's business, trade, and all that stuff. So the history is not there. And come to find out that I'm learning, and I'm recently learning this stuff, that apparently in my parents' country of Haiti, there were slave rebellions that happened because they were Muslim.
Yep.
I never heard of this stuff before.
That's a fact. A lot of people don't know this, but even I'll give you one more, because you're from Haiti. There were Muslims in Haiti before even colonizers even discovered Haiti.
No, I'm from America, but I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There were Muslims in Haiti before colonizers even discovered Haiti. You get me? So a lot of people don't know this stuff. They don't know this stuff, right? But if you read books like They Came Before Columbus by Ivan Van Sertima, he breaks it down. If you read books like what's the book from Dr. Abdul Hakim Quick, Deeper Roots, he breaks it down. Okay. If you read what's the book I have here, man? There's another one. I can't remember. But the thing is that this information, of course, is not going to be made public, because the colonizer is trying to push a narrative, just like how they try to tell us that Abraham Lincoln, he fought for the slaves and stuff. He didn't fight for the slaves. He fought for America. He used the slaves. Okay?
Right.
He used the slaves.
They
always riffing on the history, bro. You can't trust a single thing they say. But if you look at actual historians and actual anthropologists and what they're saying, it's a totally different story, bro. Totally different story. You know what I mean? So Islam, it brings out the rebellious nature against oppression, not just a rebellious nature for no reason, okay, but against the oppressor. You get me? These people are the oppressor. These people are the oppressor, right? And if you fight against them, if like the Prophet said, he says, if the one who sees an evil and if you see evil, you must change it with your hand. If you can't change it with your hand, you must change it with your mouth. If you can't change it with your mouth, you must hate it in your heart. And hating in your heart is the least of the three. So we're always in a struggle, regardless. We're always in a struggle. But for us, you know why we still have a voice here? We're still able to speak and talk about these type of things. This is our struggle. We're trying to change it with our mouth. You get me?
Yeah, you doing your thing, bro. I see you. You're doing your thing. You're putting these guys under the hot grease. You know, you roasted them in the oven. And then you're serving them to the public, freshly baked, freshly cooked. You know,
mashallah. So yeah, man. Like the days of us. There's like a new Negro in town. You know what I mean? We're not here to acquiesce to nobody. All right. If we're going to be brothers, then we're going to be brothers for real. But if you think we're going to be brothers on conditions, you're going to make this brotherhood conditional that, like what that dude say, talking about, well, we don't mean that, the suffering that the Black Americans, African Americans, and the Native Americans will receive for Donald Trump. We don't mean that. But, sometimes you got to suffer for the long goal. Like if you think we fit to go to kowtow to that, you got another thing coming. If it's going to be a free for all, it's going to be free for all. And what we know is that there's no barrier between the oppressed and his Lord when he makes du'a. This is what we know. You want us to vote for Donald Trump for long-term benefits and punishing Kamala Harris and all kind of madness and craziness. And then you have folks that won't even question or challenge this stuff. They won't challenge it. So we are here to challenge all of it. How does me voting for Donald Trump get me closer to Allah? You got to explain that to me. How does it accomplish any goal whatsoever? Except for you want the Muslims now to become far right tools. I said what I said. Go ahead, Israel, the young lion.
I definitely agree. A lot of these when it comes to the whole politics things, I'm neutral. Certain things I understand, certain things I just don't agree with. I know that the United States as a whole, when it comes to their government, especially with Donald Trump, is basically a slave to the Zionist state of Israel, so-called Israel. And and I know a lot of these alt-right guys, these alt-right white boys, they're happy that Trump is in office because they believe that he's like gonna help them boost their numbers and all this stuff like that. So
well, they're not anymore, ain't they?
They really believe that.
There is trouble in paradise, ain't it?
And then there's the whole there's the whole like Palestinian, Arab, and Black thing going on where, like me personally, I don't know any Palestinian Arabs, but I like Black folks try to tell them. As someone that's seen the history, Black folks did try to tell these people that these people are not your friends.
Yeah.
So when things go wrong, you can't expect Black people to be at the forefront of your fight. Fight your own battles. We have our own problems that your people are not helping or don't want to help. And you have this whole anti-Black thing going on in your culture. So why would not to say that it's unfortunate what's happening to them, but we're not going to be at the forefront of your fight because we have to.
I want to be clear, right? This is happening to the Palestinian people in Palestine, right? It's happening to them in Palestine. And what the immigrant community is doing here in the West, like especially recently, their actions have been essentially actions that will well, how's the word? What's the word I'm looking at? It will usurp any type of support that they previously had from the local community because they're looking crazy. They're looking real crazy. Okay, they're doing things. They're moving like caricatures of the civil rights movement. You know, there's like they saw Martin Luther King and Malcolm X or whatever, and they saw these 60s civil rights movement on TV and stuff. And they said, "Oh, I'm going to do that in 2025."
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to do that in 2025. And they don't know the history behind why Black people did what they did. We have blood, sweat. We have dead parents, dead uncles, dead babies, and everything. You know, we have been terrorized. We have been, brutalized. We have been, whatchamacallit, our communities have been flooded with drugs and
yep.
red line. We have a history behind all of this stuff.
We have trauma. We still have trauma to this day.
Pure trauma. Y'all just got here yesterday, got rich off the Black community, by selling pork and loose cigarettes in convenience stores and stuff. Then you moved into, your own enclave somewhere after getting rich off the Black community. You haven't struggled in this country at all. You have excelled in this country. And now, after excelling with your education, with your economics, you know what I mean? All this kind of stuff flourished. Now you're talking about you want to protest. But not for protest what's going on here or the people here. You're protesting for something that's happening to some people, some other country somewhere.
Yeah.
You get me?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're going to do that, and the Palestinian people should absolutely be helped. They should absolutely be helped. There are certain ways and methods that you can do that without antagonizing the local population. But it seems that you want to antagonize the local population. This is what you want to do. You want to talk about punishment Kamala Harris. We're talking about Donald Trump as the lesser two evils. Okay, well, he's the lesser two evils. Donald Trump approved on February 2nd $6 billion worth of weapons. Guess what they've been doing all week this week with those weapons? Lesser of two evils. You were told that this was going to happen. And now it's happening. Donald Trump talking about we're going to kick out the Palestinians and stuff and turn it into, what did he say? Mar-a-Lago of the Middle East or something like that, or whatever he said.
He wanted to turn it to a casino or something like that.
Yeah. But again, if you want to get support for the immigrant community in the West, all you need to do is get some white Muslim who is well-spoken and articulate to tell the immigrant community what to do, and they'll do it. They won't even question. That's how they are. And we used to be like that. Black folk used to be like that. We ain't like that no more. We don't learn our lesson. Allah says in the Quran, He's not going to change the condition of people until they change themselves. We done change. We're making Tawbah. We openly make Tawbah to Allah here in the month of Ramadan for all of those mistakes that we made in the past. Now you find the immigrant community making today. We openly make Tawbah. We ask Allah for forgiveness. We should have never listened to these hostile elements who weren't from us. Never, ever. But anyways, let's keep watching this thing here, young Israel, online. You're welcome to stay on if you want.
All right,
and anybody who wants to come on in the chat as well, I'm gonna put the link. Right, I'm gonna continue with this video. Let's keep watching, y'all.
It made sense, right? It just did. I understand it. But who makes it better? Do black people make Christianity better, or does Christianity make black people better? I think black people make Christianity better.
In our reality, that's a fact. That is a fact. Black people do make Christianity better, right? But it's not the case with Islam whatsoever. 1 second,
I think black people make Islam better. I would say black.
Like I said, that's not the case with Islam. Islam makes black people better, okay? And there's too much evidence of that. Way too much evidence. And we're not talking about something that happened yesterday or today. Like, we're talking about like literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of evidence of this. And any old Joe Blow can look it up. You know what I mean? Look up the Moors in Europe. Do you know what this Renaissance age was?
Uh-oh.
It was black Africans going into Europe when Europeans were in something they themselves termed the Dark Ages. They were living in caves like animals, not bathing, not washing, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. It was black Africans who ruled Europe for 800 years in Spain, who brought them out from the Dark Ages into the Light Ages. It was a bright ages of what? Not just any old black Africans, not the African spiritual black Africans, Muslim Africans. The Muslims, the same Muslim that you saying that, you know, black people make Islam. No, it's Islam that made them better. And they went and they spread this, they went and they brought the Islam to Europe, and they made Europe just by being Muslim. Their presence made Europe better. Go ahead, Israel Young Lion.
That's a fact. But you know the haters out there gonna say, "Oh, you're stealing my culture. Why are you stealing my culture?" No. The Moors were predominantly black people or African people, whatever they want to call it. I actually I actually uploaded my DNA results on this thing called mytrueancestry.com, right? And they found they compared my genetics to it says African Muslim in Sicily, you know, that whole Mediterranean region, and the genetic distance, I kid you not, is very, very close.
Yeah,
and
which would make perfect sense, because during the Spanish Inquisitions, right, the whole point of the Spanish Inquisition was something like this going on today. Like, you see how Donald Trump is trying to kick out all the Mexicans and the Haitians. That's a Spanish Inquisition. They were kicking out. How do you know they're Muslims? Because you're dark skinned. Okay, that's how they knew. Okay, because they're black, right? So they kicking them out. They end up in Western Africa, like in Mauritania and Morocco, these type of places, right? Slave trade happens. The next thing you know, you got the DNA in your, like, that makes perfect sense to me. I'm just saying, it makes sense to me.
I'm not to brag or anything. I'm not bragging. I'm just recently finding this stuff out. I have a haplogroup that goes back to Spain. So, but you look at me, I'm dark as hell. You know, I'm just as dark as you are, Bilal. You know, so like, how do people reconcile that? And then on top of that, there's a series called The Spanish Princess on Amazon Prime, and there's this black Muslim, African Muslim, if you will, or more, if you will, and he was called by, you know, the white folks. The whole setting is medieval, like Europe, when, you know, the Moors are were around, and, you know, Prince Charles, not King Charles and all that stuff, King James and all that was going on. That's the setting of the series. And basically one of the the English guys, white guy, called the black guy a Moor or Saracen, and I forgot the guy's name himself, but he was Spanish. He was a black guy, but he was speaking Spanish, had the old English accent, the Spanish accent and everything. And he was interested in this this black Christian lady, also in Spain. and he said something along the lines that lines up with the Spanish Inquisition. He said Moors and Jews were kicked out, and they were going for our family, people that look like us. And he was pointing to the black. She was a Jew, but she converted to Christianity because that's what was going on. It was
exactly. This was the a very large phenomenon that was happening during the Spanish Inquisition. The Jews, because they're white, they would convert to Christianity, but the Muslims, they couldn't hide. There's no way to hide, right? Because they were black. Okay, they're black. An entire play by Shakespeare was made about a Moor, Othello.
Right.
He wrote about this. What you're telling me about, black people making Islam better? No, Islam is making black people better, and the presence of these black Muslims is making everybody else better. Right? Don't get it twisted. We were interrupted by white colonialists who came with their lies, came with their weapons, and came with their white supremacy, and messed everything up for everybody. Okay, but anyways, let's keep watching, y'all.
People make Judaism better, but I guess if you white version of Judaism versus the black version of Judaism, I mean, the white version of Judaism is to bomb and kill as many people as possible as a religion. Black version of Judaism is to call white people the devil on the corner in the Power Ranger suit. So I guess the Power Ranger suit and calling white people the devil.
Sorry, I gotta rewind that. You know what he said?
Black version of Judaism is to call white people the devil on the corner in the Power Ranger suit. So I guess the Power Ranger suit and calling white people the devil is much safer and more peaceful than the white.
Oh my gosh, man!
Yeah, I used to do what he was talking about. You know,
I used talking about with the Power Ranger suit and everything.
The Power Ranger suit. You know, used to go outside with the turbans. You know, reading out the Bible. You know, anytime a European would come down the street, you know, we would rail on him. You call you devil. You know, the whole yo, read. You know, I did all of that.
Oh man, that's crazy, man. But that was funny. That was funny. I got to admit. I had to rewind that one more again. All right, let's keep watching, y'all.
White version of Judaism, which is to bomb and kill as many mixed mulattoes as you can, right? Under the guise of peace. And is it? Did Jews ever claim to want peace? I don't even hear him talk about peace. All I hear him talk about is everybody else need to go to hell. And I mean, didn't they kill Jesus? I'm just saying, right? I mean, let me know. Did they kill Jesus? What? Jesus was a Jew too, right? So I mean, hey, I don't know what to tell you, but none of these. I'm not supposed to do it. And young people are figuring it out. Like even the politicians are still trying to use Christianity right now. White politicians are trying to use Christianity to hold on to racism because you need Christian.
They've always done that from day one. This is nothing new. The whole reason why you got a black church is because of white supremacy. This is not a new phenomenon at all. They've been doing this since the Spanish Inquisition, as we mentioned, into the late 1400s. Since that time, they've been doing this. And they haven't stopped since. They take Christianity, attach Christianity to Jesus's legacy, and say that this is God's religion, when it ain't got nothing to do with Jesus and ain't got nothing to do with God. This is the devil's religion, packaged and marketed as God's religion. Christianity and Jesus ain't got nothing to do with each other, okay? Don't get it twisted. Jesus, peace be upon him, he was a revolutionary, like what we would call a revolutionary. You get me? He was a messenger of God. He was righteous. Everybody who met Jesus loved Jesus. Nobody who stayed with Jesus, except that he elevated them. Look at the stories in the Bible in terms of Mary of Magdalene, for example, the prostitute. According to your own book, the prostitute. Look how he elevated her, took her out of sin, and made her into a respectable member of society. Do you find the white Christians of today doing that stuff? Or are these same white Christians who brought those very same Hispanic people Christianity so they can worship lily white Jesus, putting them on planes, separating their families and sending them back to even some other country they never came from, in jails and stuff like that? Is this the religion of Jesus? What does got to do with Jesus? You get me? It's like night and day, right? So don't get it twisted. These white folks ain't changed. They ain't changed. And it's their whiteness that they're united about. Nothing else. Ain't nothing else. Because they don't got a word that they keep. They don't got a what you call it, a contract that they uphold. They don't got a treaty, except that they break it. And they truly believe that their survival is solely dependent on the destruction of other people, and they practice it. And then you got Muslims out here talking about, well, I'm going to vote Donald Trump because he lessens their two evils. Like, fool. If you don't get your funky out my face, like, don't play with me. Anyways, let's keep watching, y'all.
Like, racism, because it doesn't actually make sense and it doesn't stand on its own, it's like if you wanted to bake a racism cake, the ingredients to just have is not going to work. You need something that's going to let it stick. You need something that's going to make racism stick, right? So you need something that's going to bind it. So you need to put Christianity in there. You got to put Christianity because you need a fantasy and a story and characters that you can get them poor white folk who are suffering to relate to, so that they can take that and say, look, Jesus, good white Jesus would do this. They want the peasants the white peasants, the white trash, they want them to act like Jesus. That's the thing. They want you to act like Jesus while they act like the Romans, so they can beat your ass and they can abuse you, and you ain't gonna do nothing but stand there with the cross and allow it to happen. Like as if you were dying for everybody else's sins. They want you to emulate that. Turn the other cheek. Let me take advantage of you. Because at the end of the day, you'll be rewarded because God is gonna take care of you when you die. So what they telling you is, you born, right? You're automatically a sinner. You are a fresh spirit, right? But when as soon as you get here, you some sort of abomination. And some dude died for your sins a long time ago, but yet you still a sinner now somehow. But he died for your sins, and they worship that guy Jesus as somebody that already died for your sins that you are, I guess, going to commit at some point in your life. But somehow you're still a sinner, and you still got to beg for Jesus and be a Christian, or you're going to hell somehow.
That died for your sin stuff. That's for white folks. That's not for us. Well, let me clarify here. Okay. Christianity, the way it's presented to the world, is really European Hinduism. There's a caste system in Christianity where one people group gets taught one version of Christianity, and another people group gets taught another version of Christianity. So black people, we get taught, about the pie in the sky Christianity, and one day we're going to get to heaven and all kind of stuff, and we're going to get peace when we die and all kind. That's the Christianity that we get taught. Turn the other cheek Christianity, love thy neighbor Christianity. You know what I mean? Look at these modern day preachers today. It's like high-spirited motivational speakers. So we get taught that type of Christianity. Christianity for white folks is Jesus died for your sins. Why is it like that? Because they get unfettered and unrestricted movement to do whatever they want to the rest of the world. Because why? Because Jesus died for their sins. So they can kill. Why can they kill? Because Jesus died for their sins. They become rapists. Why can they become rapists? Because Jesus died for their sins. You get me? It's praise the Lord on Sunday and pass the ammunition on Monday. That's how they practice their religion. They can go up to a black man's family's homes with their children inside, burn a cross, and lynch a father in front of their family, and still go to church that same week, talk about Jesus died for their sins. That's how they practice it.
Okay. You mind if I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
One of the key things that drew me to Islam, right, was the fact that it gives you bits and pieces of economic advice.
Yeah.
Stay away from riba.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take out loans on interest. Don't deal with anything that has to do with interest. And of course, if you're gonna refer to the Sunnah and try to follow the traditions of the Prophet, try to be like an entrepreneur and all that stuff. That stuff is what I'm trying to do in my own life. When I was going to church, I never heard anything about trying to financially enrich myself, to better myself financially.
Well, let me correct that. When you went to church, you were taught how to financially enrich the church, because the church is really big on tithes.
Right.
They're really big on tithes. And as a matter of fact, they make it a condition that your tithes is attached to your own tangible wealth in your own life. So once you give tithes, you're going to see the Lord. You give me $1,000, the Lord is going to give you $1 million. That's how they talk. You know how they talk. You know how they are, right? You know how they are, right? And if you give your tithe, don't worry, the Lord will open the doors for you. Don't worry, they're not doing it like that.
Open the floodgates of heaven and all that.
You know how they are. You know how they are, right? Even my grandma, she died. She does the kind of, but she used to give her life savings, all kind of stuff to Jimmy Swagger. Like these people would take. Even I used to, when I was young, I was like, just in my heart, I didn't like Jimmy Swagger. I always thought that he was a scumbag, right? When I was like, seriously, because I saw how my grandma would watch him. My grandma, she's just a poor old lady, and she loved her some Jesus, right? She loved the church, everything.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And she like, but she's listening to these guys, and I'm like, Grandma, why are you giving these? I didn't ask her that, but I was too young. But I was like, I was thinking in my head, like, why do you even watch this stuff? Like, this is crazy. And they have these commercials on these programs, and I'm young, and they'd be like, if you buy this holy water, you're gonna, they're selling water.
Yeah, the miracle water and
water
and the miracle scarves and the prayer towels and all this stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, all this kind of madness, man. It's like, and we don't have the equivalent to that in Islam. The only people I see doing stuff like that in Islam are like Sufis and Shia. That's it. I don't see like like regular Muslims doing that kind of craziness. Again, when a normal person sees that stuff, right away they get turned off. Right? They just get turned off. You get me?
Yep.
But yeah. But anyways, let's keep watching, y'all. We're gonna go for maybe a couple more minutes because it's getting close to Maghrib. And then we'll call it a night. 1 second, yo.
Even though, so that means Jesus died and went through all that for nothing. But they want you to act like him, right? Does that make any goddamn sense? Does it really make any sense? It doesn't. But Europeans live in fantasy, so it's fine with them, right? They just need something. They don't have much ancient history to draw onto, right? All their history starts with rape, murder, and pillage, right? That's what they're famous for. Rape, murder, and pillage, kill, destruction, destroy. Run around naked in the woods, right? There's all the ancient stories about them is what it is. And they still do it now. They just wear 3-piece suits while doing it. That's it. The only difference between a barbarian savage and modern day white person now is the clothing that they're putting, that's wrapped around their milky skin. That's it. And so there's no way that the God that they worship, because remember, the Jesus they worship is the one that's supposed to kill black folks. The Jesus they worship is the one that hate Latinos who are on their own, who are mixed mulattoes, mixed between the indigenous Native Americans that their forefathers raped over centuries, right? And them white conquistadors and Africans that they raped for centuries, right? That's who they are, right?
You know, I'm gonna do it a step further, and then we're gonna call it a night, inshallah. Right. So, when I was young, when I was Christian, I used to legit believe that, you know, was almost a near impossibility for black people to go to paradise. Like in my subconscious, right? Like I believed that because I would go to, you know, church. We were Catholic, you know what I mean? So in the Catholic church, angels are white, saints are white, everybody's white. You get me? And one day I asked my father like about that when I was we were driving. I think we were driving home for church or I can't remember, but I was very, very young. Right. I was like maybe in grade 2 or grade 3 or something like that. Right. And I asked my father, you know, my father, you know, he's Catholic. You get me? But he's like and any old Catholic, they're Catholic because they go to church on Sundays. If you go to church on Sundays, you're religious. Okay.
Right.
You get me? So I asked him, like, do black people go to heaven? He goes, yeah, of course they do. And why you ask a question like that, right? I said, because I don't see any white. I don't see a black angel. I never seen a black angel. I never seen, you know. This has a psychological effect on the black mind. You can't tell me nothing, right? Because it affected me. Not one day since I've been Muslim that I ever think that I was less because I was black. Not a single day. Not a single second. And as a matter of fact, I've always seen Islam as the natural progression of black people in the West. Because we are the oppressed people here. We are the ones who resemble the Beni Israel, the children of Israel, the most, whether in the Quran or in the Bible. We resemble them the most out of all people. You get me? I've always seen that. I've always seen it like Islam as the solution for all mankind. And it's not just talk. It's like real, like I really believe that. You get me? Go ahead, Israel Young Line.
No, I mean, similar with me. You know, even with from what I've seen and what I've studied, I'll take it a step further and say, you know, those some of us that were brought over here in the Americas are the descendants of Bani Israel, because the correlation is just like, you know, it's just like you said, it's just like damn near identical.
Yep.
So now, from what I've based off of my studies, I see that this is a better pathway for our people to enrich themselves economically, to be financially independent, where you don't have to go clocking at a job and, you know, slave all these hours, and, you know, just to give 10% of your income to, you know, Jimmy Swagger or Benny Hinn or you know all of that stuff. I truly believe that this is the way for our people, and it can improve our overall image worldwide if we practice this as a whole. That's what I see.
And I'll just leave with the last statement before we close it off, right? Because the brother was asking, what has Christianity and Islam done for black people ever? And we already put out what it has actionably. This is only the tip of the iceberg. We can get into so much more, right, of what Islam has done actionably for black people. But I will go even further, that Islam can do this for the entire planet. If white people would accept Islam, then your condition would be better. All right? Your condition would be better. And there would be a sense of obligation because of their attachment to Allah and their fear of Allah to treat folks with justice and equity and whatnot. And if black people accept Islam, then you will never continue with that slave mentality. It's impossible. It's impossible. Islam brings out the nature of serving Allah and Allah alone. You know, even if you have to die in service to Allah, that is preferable to you than to live in the service of another wicked human being. You get me? So the question is, what has Christianity and Islam done for mankind, right? And the proof is in the pudding. Everywhere that Christianity goes, it just brings destruction, absolute destruction. And everywhere that Islam goes, it brings prosperity, wealth, peace, working together, right? As long as it's practiced correctly. You get me? And even if it's not practiced fully correctly, it's still going to bring a benefit to the society, even with a lot of mistakes being done, because Islam is just that powerful, right? And we will leave it at that. I want to thank all my watchers and listeners who've been watching the pod. I want to thank Brother Israel Young Lion for hopping on the pod with me today. And may Allah reward you all and accept your fast. And may Allah bless you all in your fast in this Ramadan. And we will see you again tomorrow, inshallah. And subhanaka wa hamdik wa shada la ilaha anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. And free the land, beloved, free the land, and see y'all later.